number 10, Rihanna. Rihanna might seem like a nice, happy-go-lucky person who's always going hard for her fans, but it turns out that she actually has a little bit of a dark side. I guess you could say that she's savage, like Savage X Fenty. No? Alright. It seems like on a few occasions, she's been quite mean to her fans. She's no stranger to shoving a phone out of her face when approached by a fan, and she's been known to yell at paparazzi and fans when they get a little too close for comfort. On some more unpleasant occasions, she's been filmed smacking a fan on the head with a microphone. During one of her concerts in England in 2013, the singer whacked a fan with her mic because they had reached their hand out to her. Look at that. And in another savage incident, Rihanna mocked a 16-year-old fan online for having recreated one of her red carpet looks for prom, where she called her out on Twitter and made fun of her look, calling it expectation versus reality, and posting a side-by-side comparison. Not the nicest person in the industry, that's for sure. At number 9, Ezra Miller. This one was a little shocking, but it turns out that Ezra Miller might not be as nice of a guy as we think. You may have seen in the intro a video of Ezra Miller choking and slamming a woman to the ground. This video, when it first hit the internet, was thought to have been a joke, but it really wasn't. This happened during an altercation at a bar in Iceland when a group of fans approached the actor and things got out of hand. Bystanders of the incident described the group as being very pushy, and it seemed like this was what triggered Ezra's violent reaction. Things escalated and he lost his temper, leading to the physical altercation. Some say that alcohol may have contributed to the incident, but the bottom line is that Ezra's outburst was not cute, and it really surprised a lot of fans. Just before I continue on with the video, I'd like to ask you guys to maybe consider leaving a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far. We love getting your positive feedback, and your likes really help us out too, so please go ahead and show us some love by smashing that like button. At number 8, Jennifer Lopez. This probably doesn't come as a shock to many, but it turns out that J-Lo isn't a very nice person. Some say that she's a real diva, and others say that she's just rude. Apparently, the singer/actress is very picky about who may or may not speak to her, and for those permitted to address her, they're not allowed to make eye contact with her. There are even reports that she sometimes flat out refuses to comply with scripts. This has happened on a few occasions, most notably during a filming for a Fiat commercial where they needed to hire a double for Jennifer simply because she just didn't want to do certain things for the shoot. She doesn't have a good reputation with a lot of people she's worked with either. She is said to have completely ignored the people who were remodeling her house. She's gotten a cleaning lady fired for having asked for an autograph, and she even refuses to talk to in-flight staff and pilots on flights, and instructs her assistant to talk to them for her. And even though her staff do so much for her, including communicating for her, they don't get paid very much for their time. J-Lo just gives off bad vibes, so I think maybe it's best to steer clear of her whenever possible. At number 7, Bill Murray. Bill Murray has a bad reputation in Hollywood for his poor behavior on set, so it's no surprise to me to find out that he's actually bullied one of his castmates on the set of Charlie's Angels. While filming the movie, Bill Murray was said to have antagonized actress Lucy Liu. When watching the film, you'd think that they were all good friends and on good terms, but that's quite the opposite. In reality, it was a sort of hostile work environment that caused Bill to take on a dislike towards Lucy. Turns out Bill would insult Lucy's talent and acting ability, and on one occasion even said, quote, "I get why you're here, you've got talent, but what in the hell are you doing here? You can't act." Apparently, the harassment and bullying got so bad at one point that Lucy tried throwing punches at Bill during one scene because its insults got so bad. This antagonizing went on for the entire duration of production, and Bill kept on berating Lucy about her presence on set and calling her unprofessional as well. Bill Murray is one mean guy. I mean, he's admitted to being mean, but man, he's got some seriously bad vibes. At number 6, Ellen DeGeneres. I think this one's a little obvious because it's Ellen. We've done a lot of videos on Ellen. Ellen has been exposed as one of the meanest people in Hollywood. Even though she was all about kindness and spreading good vibes on her show, it seems like Ellen's angel persona on TV was quite the opposite in real life. Many staff members, as well as other people who've been on the show with her and have worked with her in the past, have started coming forward to talk about Ellen's mean streak in Hollywood. It turns out that there are some workplace horrors afoot over on the Ellen show set, with people claiming that you're not allowed to look Ellen in the eye, and those who approach her are often spoken to rudely or even face racial biases. Also, there seems to be some kind of drama with the toilets on set. I guess people's butts are very prestigious or something. There have been reports of Ellen getting people in trouble for having chipped nail polish, for giving away fan mail, and apparently there's a rumor that Ellen picks one member of staff to be mean to every day. Lovely person, isn't she? Halfway through at number 5, Mike Meyers. Mike Meyers isn't really doing much in Hollywood these days, and I think I might know why. It's because he's so mean. There have been a number of horror stories to come out about the actor, which sort of paints him as both a diva and just a really mean person in general. Some of the things that have come out about the actor include rumors that when he's on set, he has someone following him around all day, feeding him chocolates from a Tupperware container, at the same time as ordering other people around and micromanaging the production. And as if that's bad enough, he's also reportedly gotten an actor fired off set for only having made eye contact with Mike. That is some seriously mean and toxic behavior. On top of that, he's allegedly refused to sign autographs for a toy company who made toys based on his characters, and even though he demanded that this company ship him his merchandise as soon as it was ready, he then refused to pay for them. People also describe him as a narcissist and controlling, so no wonder no one wants to work with him anymore. At number 4, Lea Michele. Lea Michele is another celebrity who's been exposed for her mean streak this year. Following a Twitter exposure from former Glee co-star Samantha Ware, Lea has now been described as, quote, callous, rude, mean, and even a diva. But Samantha's exposure of the Broadway star isn't the only testimony that has come forward recounting her mean streak. There have been stories of Lea's microaggressions, but also stories of her spitting in craft service food, refusing to work with people because they didn't know her middle name, requesting reshoots because she didn't like her costume, disrespecting other castmates, and having crew members apologize on her behalf, and just so many other frustrating tidbits that just really show how rude and entitled she's known to be. At number 3, Ariana Grande. I honestly thought that Ariana Grande was a really nice person. She's pretty soft-spoken and seems like she's really kind, but according to people who've worked with or interacted with the singer, it's not exactly true. She's apparently so bad that even her life coach quit on her, so you know something's up. Apparently Ariana makes some high demands, from the positioning of lighting to being in the right position when people come to see her or take photos with her. She's also gotten backlash for her attitude from people she's worked with in the past, like Victoria Justice and Jeanette McCurdy. Jeanette has called Ariana a leech and a drama queen, and Victoria has accused Ariana of bullying her on set. Ariana was also involved in that donut licking incident, which painted her as a disrespectful person, and she's been accused of using her relationships to further her career, along with being involved in some cheating scandals on 2 accounts, one while with Jay Brooks and another when she was with Mac Miller. The bottom line with Ariana is that she's not the nice girl she pretends to be. At number 2, Shaquille O'Neal. Shaquille O'Neal seems to be this super great guy who's given back to his community, donated to all these charities, and has done a lot of work to benefit a lot of people. I mean, the guy has a whole foundation in his name, so this one might be a little controversial, but this was news to me, so I thought I'd share it with the class. There was an incident in 2014 when Shaq mocked the appearance of a man named Jamal Binion. Jamal suffers from a rare genetic condition which has resulted in some facial deformities. It seems like Shaq saw a picture of him online and recreated the image himself, posing his face to look like that of Jamal. Well, he didn't think it was very funny, and even though Shaq apologized, it wasn't enough, and so he issued a lawsuit against the basketball star, as well as 2 other people who mocked his condition, for $25,000 in damages. The lawsuit claimed that the image was shared to nearly 10 million people around the world, so this public mocking was grounds for seeking damages. Shaq may not be a mean guy all of the time, but this instance sure did open a lot of people's eyes to the NBA star's actions. And finally at number 1, Mariah Carey. Mariah Carey isn't the nicest person ever. She's had run-ins with the paparazzi which have not gone over well. She's had some bad relationships with others, and she's known to be something of a diva. But this takes the cake. There was a lawsuit from one of Mariah's former assistants which claimed that the singer peed on her, ridiculed her body, and then called her some pretty rude names. Her former assistant said that she was hired by the singer to be on call 24/7 and assisted both Mariah and her manager. Though she was paid a salary of $250,000 a year, this wage just couldn't cover up the alleged abuse sustained by Mariah. But her case wasn't the only one up against the singer at the time. While this case was being disputed, Mariah had just settled one with her former manager, which cited breach of contract, harassment, and unpaid wages. It seems like though she pays her people well, she doesn't treat them as well as she should. At number 10, Zac Efron. When you think of Zac Efron, the first thing that might pop into your head will probably be High School Musical, because that's what catapulted him to fame after all. He was one of Disney's biggest and most popular stars because of the High School Musical franchise, as the movies were so successful and his face was plastered on everything from backpacks to candy. But Zac isn't the golden boy that Disney sold him as. He's had his fair share of controversies, like his MLK Day tweet where he equated MLK's part in the civil rights movement to him reaching 10 million followers on Instagram, and shading Vanessa Hudgens when her private photos got leaked. One of the meanest and most outrageous things that Zac has done was get into a fight with homeless people living on Skid Row. Now, the details of what happened that night vary depending on who you hear it from, but essentially Zac and his friend got into a physical altercation with a group of homeless people, and according to TMZ, Zac threw a bottle at them while he was waiting for a tow truck. Some people said that this fight resulted in Zac getting punched, but again, we don't really know for sure. What we do know is that fighting is not nice, and throwing things at homeless people certainly does not make you a kind person. At number 9, Hilary Duff. When Hilary Duff was on the Disney Channel playing Lizzie McGuire, her character was very much against bullying and hate. In fact, her character faced bullying on a few occasions, so she wasn't the type of person to spread hate on her part. But in real life, Hilary is the complete opposite, and she's kind of mean. In 2018, Hilary got into a bit of a scandal as people called her out for bullying her neighbor. The actress took to her Instagram stories to rant about her rude neighbor, calling them out on how her apartment had smelled like cigarette smoke and Mary Jane because of them, and even ridiculing them on how they afford to live there, saying, quote, "We know your parents pay off your rent, we know you've never worked a day in your life, it must be nice." Hilary really just berated her neighbor publicly, calling them out on many of their actions, but what people really didn't like about this rant is how she used her neighbor's name in the videos. She plastered their name across the screen multiple times, and because of this public exposure, people saw this as bullying, and Instagram even took her videos down because they violated the platform's terms. Usually she comes across as wholesome and nice, but at this moment we got a peek at Hilary's dark side. Now before I go any further, I'd like to ask you guys to please consider leaving a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, because it really helps us out a lot. At number 8, Dove Cameron. Another generally wholesome celeb who's exposed a darker, meaner side of themselves is Dove Cameron. Known by Disney fans as the actress from the Disney Channel show Liv and Maddie, and also for her role in the Descendants films, Dove is usually a really nice person online and with her fans, but there came a time when one of her tweets came across as a little harsh and she got cancelled over it. In 2018, one of Dove's fans tweeted her saying how their goal in life was to have Dove notice her, and well, that goal was achieved, but not in the way that they expected. Dove ended up replying to this fan, but instead of sharing some kind of sweet message of support, she instead told them what she really thinks about their desire to be noticed by a celebrity. Dove tweeted saying, quote, "That is a very small and unimportant life goal, and maybe if I notice you, you will realize how unfulfilling it is and turn your phone off because celebrities don't matter. Go find yourself in nature and create your own life philosophy. Aim higher, babe." End quote. People thought that this tweet was unnecessarily aggressive on Dove's part, saying that it's mean for her to essentially tell the person who helped build her career by supporting her that their support is unimportant. What do you guys think? Is it mean or not?
And at number 7, Dove Cameron. Dove Cameron is a Disney star who is beloved by many for her kind personality. However, many fans were shocked to learn that she definitely has a mean side. This all started when a fan tweeted out saying how their goal in life was to have Dove notice her. And well, that goal was achieved, but not in the way that she hoped. Dove ended up replying savagely to that fan, saying, quote, "That's a very small and unimportant life goal. And maybe if I notice you, you'll realize how unfulfilling this is and turn your phone off because celebrities don't matter. Go find yourself in nature and create your own life philosophy. Aim higher, babe." And obviously a statement like this can be interpreted in a lot of ways. It can be implied here that Dove just wanted the fan to realize a high from Dove wouldn't help them get, anywhere in life, and to stop putting so much meaning on it. But obviously the way Dove said this was really harsh, and it was somewhat aggressive for no reason.
At number 6, Vanessa Hudgens. There's another High School Musical alum on this list who's earned a reputation for being mean, and that's Vanessa Hudgens. She was up there with Zac Efron being one of Disney's biggest stars from back in the days when HSM was all the rage, but much like her musical counterpart, she's not as wholesome as her on-screen character might make you think. Vanessa actually has a history of being mean, as fans have recounted stories of their rude encounters with the actress. One fan once said that Vanessa screamed at her while in a department store shopping with her then boyfriend Zac Efron because she was a fan of Zac and all she wanted to do was talk to him. Vanessa caused a scene just because she didn't want to be interrupted by a fan. A recent case of Vanessa being mean comes from her comments about the pandemic that caused her to get cancelled last year. Early on, while the world was still in their first lockdown, Vanessa made some comments about people being affected by COVID and passing away, saying that it is, quote, terrible but inevitable. A lot of people really don't like Vanessa because she just isn't a very nice person and sometimes can say the completely wrong thing.
Halfway number 5, Jon Hamm. So this one is extra juicy because it involves one celebrity calling out another. In this case, Kathy Griffin called out Jon Hamm for being rude to her at a party. In her memoir, comedian Kathy Griffin shared a story about Jon Hamm confronting her at a party, rudely asking her who invited her. He even went on to make comments about her, quote, failed career and mocked her age. At the dinner, she was speaking with Jack Nicholson when Hamm came up to her and asked her, quote, what are you doing here? Then she replied, quote, I earned my seat at the table. What are you doing here? Kathy said that Jon continued to get drunk as she was discussing Rupert Murdoch with Jack, where she continued saying, quote, Hammy picks that moment to start whispering boozy yammering into my ear. First it was him saying, you know your Emmy isn't a real Emmy. I let that one go. But he whispered, you're so old. And Kathy admitted it was not only the rude comments that pissed her off, but the fact that he was interrupting some precious time alone with Jack Nicholson. And honestly, I just have no idea how Jon Hamm could make those comments and not think that Kathy Griffin was gonna blast him for it.
At number 4, Lindsay Lohan. After getting her start by starring in the 1998 Disney film The Parent Trap, Lindsay was catapulted into fame. She starred in a handful of Disney films in the early days of her career, but soon her reputation for being a good actress turned into a reputation for being a mean person and a diva. A lot of people say that Lindsay's diva attitude was caused by her gaining so much fame at such a young age. She became the stereotypical Hollywood diva, having people bow down to her and cater to her every whim with a mere mention of her name. She became known as being really bossy, thinking that she could get away with anything. This then fueled her habit of lying. She's been called out for lying about things like her drug use, all the way to making outrageous claims like having handled the preparations for the body of the late Whitney Houston. A lot of people really just question Lindsay's actions and don't really trust her because she's proven to be a little shady and mean over the years, and people just really don't like that.
And at number 3, Pierce Brosnan. Pierce Brosnan must be really rude because he was called out by someone who's been called mean a lot in the past. James Corden. Basically on Corden's show, during his Fill Your Guts or Spill Your Guts segment, he had Khloe Kardashian on, and she asked Corden who was the rudest celebrity that he had ever met. And after a lot of debating, he blurted out, Pierce Brosnan, as Pierce shoved him at a U2 concert. Corden said, quote, Pierce Brosnan, I don't think he's a rude man, he just happened to be to me. I went to see U2 and I was there with my friend Lewis and his wife and my wife. Corden went on to say that Pierce was with some friends who left halfway through, but after they had been gone for a while, Corden and his wife moved into the spot to get closer. Adding, quote, so me and my wife moved into this area and literally I've never felt anything like it. This arm went on here and just pushed me out of the way. And I looked at him and he didn't even glance at me and he just moved back into his area. So I guess here Corden was really salty that Brosnan forcefully took his seat back. On the one hand, I can see why Brosnan was a bit rude, as he probably thought Corden was trying to steal his seat, but obviously he could have handled it with, words, not actions.
At number 2, Raven-Symoné. That's So Raven star Raven-Symoné has been pretty successful since leaving Disney. She was once part of many Disney productions like The Cheetah Girls and Xenon Girl of the 21st Century, and she was always perceived as nice and family friendly, but apparently that's not exactly true. Raven also has an offensive and mean side, and people got a glimpse of this when she faced scrutiny after making offensive comments while on the show The View. Raven once made a comment about people's names, saying that she wouldn't hire someone with a, quote, ghetto name like Watermelon Drea. People were mad at Raven for her comments, and some people even accused her of specifically attacking black people with those comments. Though she apologized for her remarks, saying that she's been discriminated against in the hiring process because of things like her appearance, sexual orientation, and age, there were a lot of people who never quite got over what she said, and now she's seen as a mean person. And finally, at number 1, Gina Carano. This recent scandal is one of the first to affect stars affiliated with Disney through its streaming platform Disney+. Actress Gina Carano, known by Disney and Star Wars fans for her role in The Mandalorian, faced backlash because of posts shared to her Instagram stories and on Twitter. The actress shared posts comparing being a Republican to being a victim of the Holocaust, as well as posting anti-mask images and tweets, and even sharing claims of voter fraud from the presidential election in the US. Because these posts were seen as highly offensive to a lot of people, mostly fans of The Mandalorian, Gina was fired from her role on the Disney Plus series. Fans have also pulled their support from the actress because of a past scandal that she faced where she was seen as transphobic for mocking people who put their pronouns in their social media bios. Gina has garnered a reputation for being offensive, adding yet another star to the list of mean Disney actors. At number 10, Charlize Theron. You wouldn't really think that Charlize Theron was a meanie, but perhaps she does have a dark side. In 2014, Charlize was accused of being less than friendly at a SoulCycle class by fellow actress Tia Mowry. It all started when Tia told tabloids of her unpleasant exchange with Charlize where she said, quote, "She wasn't very nice to me. I said hi and she actually rolled her eyes and said, oh my god, I wasn't over the top. I know how to approach another celebrity. Charlene was just mean. I'm just being honest." So obviously the tabloids had to look into this even more because an actress being mean is somehow a huge scoop, and they found some tea to back up Tia's story. Turns out that on top of being a little catty, Charlize would also allegedly show up to class in a bad mood, and she has also apparently been known to demand that people who already set up their spot in class switch spots with her, therefore creating a disturbance in the class. SoulCycle describes itself as being more than a class but a sanctuary, but it seems like Charlize is just famous for disturbing the peace. At number 9, Reese Witherspoon. Reese Witherspoon may seem like a nice person on screen, and in other aspects of life she really might be, but there's also a little bit of diva energy buried within, and we got to see a bit of that energy escape when she and her husband were arrested in 2013. The two of them were pulled over by an officer and Reese's husband was given a DUI charge, and in an effort to fight the charges, and I'm guessing to intimidate the arresting officer into letting them go, Reese pulled the "do you know who I am" card, and sadly it didn't work. Her attempt at defending her husband resulted in the actress being arrested for disorderly conduct, but the news of her arrest wasn't the only thing to hit the media. The whole incident was caught on camera. But that's not the only incident people have against her. There are also some who say that she wears sunglasses all the time to make sure that no one makes eye contact with her. Others who work for her say that they're afraid of offending her or making her mad, so I'd hate to know what she's like behind closed doors, you know? Before I carry on with the list, I just want to chime in here and ask you guys to consider leaving a like on this video. It really helps us out when we get your positive feedback, so please, if you are enjoying the video so far, please give it a thumbs up. At number 8, Gwyneth Paltrow. A lot of people seem to hate Gwyneth Paltrow for some reason, and though she's never really done anything horrible, I get a sense that she's so mean and so disliked in Hollywood because she comes off as pretty pretentious, egotistical, and privileged. People don't really see Gwyneth as the average person or someone that they can really relate to, which can rub people the wrong way. The Goop founder likes flaunting her wealth and materialistic things and makes it seem like it's something that everyone has or can afford. For example, her Goop must-have lists of clothing pieces and other things include things that cost hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. On top of that, she came from a wealthy family, so being someone who's always been rich, she doesn't really know how to humble herself. People also don't like how she comes across as self-centered, as she always seems to talk about herself and how fit she is and how great her lifestyle is. She also has a diva attitude, and she's been known to slam Michelin star restaurants, and if you know what that means, then you know that she's got an attitude to do something like that. On top of that, she's been known to demand that someone clean and dry the shower at the gym after someone else has used it because she, quote, can't touch someone else's shower water. At number 7, Tobey Maguire. Tobey Maguire might look like the fun and lovable Peter Parker on screen, but unfortunately, that's far from who he really is. Turns out that Tobey is really just a Hollywood jerk, and fame really just drove him to being that way. He started off as a pretty humble guy, but after the Spider-Man films brought him so much fame and success, it consumed him. Towards the end of his Spider-Man days, Tobey had something of an attitude problem, where we saw him harassing people at a poker game, even going so far as to tell a woman to bark like a seal for $1,000. He also racked up a hefty production cost for the third Sam Raimi Spider-Man film because he needed doctors on site at all times to deal with his bad back, and he was only able to walk a certain amount of steps in a scene before needing to quit. Those who worked with him often called his attitude inappropriate, and he's really just been badmouthed by a lot of people he's worked with over the years, so he really doesn't seem like that much of a nice guy. At number 6, Cameron Diaz. Cameron Diaz isn't the nicest person in Hollywood, especially in regards to her fans. She's pretty well known for biting the heads off her fans when they approach her looking for photos and autographs. When a fan approaches the actress in hopes of getting an autograph or photo, not only does she refuse them, but she also goes into full-on mom mode and she'll lecture you about why autographs are stupid and why she won't do it. The overarching theme of what Cameron says during her rants at her fans, according to them, seems to be that she'll tell you that autographs are dumb, and that if she she made an exception for one person, then she'd have to make an exception for everyone. Though in a way she does have a point about making exceptions for people, she doesn't have to do it in such a mean way. At number 5, Michael Phelps. Olympic swimmer Michael Phelps is often called the best swimmer of all time, but it seems like his aquatic skills are really all he's got going for him, since he's apparently got a bad attitude. He's done some pretty bad stuff in his life, so people don't think too highly of him. Back in 2014, he was arrested for driving under the influence, and speaking of that influence, Phelps has also been caught with drugs before. This isn't good for his image because being an Olympian, people have a lot of eyes on you. Phelps was reprimanded for his drunk driving and was suspended from swimming for 6 months, but other than that, the scandal was pretty much kept under wraps. On top of this swimmer being a felon, he's also known to not be a team player. Apparently, he hides himself away from his other teammates when at competitions like the Olympics. You would think that being at something like the Olympics, you'd want to soak up all of that team spirit, but no. Michael wants nothing to do with his team and instead flies solo. Kind of a bad attitude if you ask me. At number 4, Jennifer Lawrence. Jennifer Lawrence is actually one of the few celebrities who's actually admitted to being mean, and being mean on purpose. Yeah, some other celebs might be intentionally mean to intimidate people, but Jennifer Lawrence has actually admitted to being mean as a way to defend herself. Being a Hollywood A-lister must be tough, so you have to find a way to navigate through that, so I'm guessing that being rude works for Jennifer. The actress has said that she is intentionally mean to her fans in an effort to get them to leave her alone. Though I guess it's a good idea in theory to make yourself unapproachable, it might also lead you to losing all of your fans in general. Jennifer really rose to fame through the Hunger Games films, and at the time she would have had a younger fan base, so being mean to these kids was probably taking things a little bit too far. There's really no reason to be afraid of preteens, unless they're on TikTok. At number 3, Amber Heard. I couldn't make this mean celebrity list without including Amber. That's like watching a Marvel movie and leaving before the end credits. You just don't do that. I'm sure that we all know who Amber Heard is by now, and if not, where have you been? Amber and Johnny have been the media's it story this past year, and we've learned so much. If you've seen my recent video where I gave you the top 10 worst Amber Heard moments, then it's no surprise to you that she is a horrible person, but if not, let me recap some of her highlights. She's gotten into a fight with her sister, she's been recorded confessing to hitting Johnny Depp, she's pretended to have been a victim of a violent crime, she's smuggled her dogs into Australia, pretended not to have known about the laws there, and tried to get her assistant to commit perjury. She's responsible for Johnny's severed finger, and she's supposedly planted stories in the media to deliberately shift the focus from Johnny to her. Because of all of these things that have come out about the actress, there's just so many people from around the world who just really hate her. There have been petitions to have her removed from certain movies, and she's lost a lot of respect from fans and some Hollywood people as well. So yeah, she definitely belongs on this list. At number 2, Guy Fieri. Guy Fieri, although loved by many, is actually the #1 most hated celebrity chef. You might be asking yourself, why? He's not that bad. Well, my friend, you'd be surprised. Turns out that though Guy is a fun-loving dude on camera, he's actually pretty mean in real life. He's got a pretty big ego, he's made some pretty offensive jokes, and he's not a very nice guy when it comes to women. He's also been accused of being anti-Semitic and anti-gay. People said that he is full of himself and controlled by fame, he makes sexist jokes, and is always caught staring at women's breasts, so much to the point that editors for his show have to cut out those moments. That's a lot. He's also refused to work with or even talk to anyone from the gay community, and apparently you have to give him forewarning before he does. And people also hate him because he makes a mockery of the culinary arts, calling himself a chef when he doesn't even have any culinary training. At number 1, James Corden. James Corden has brought us carpool karaoke, laughs on his show, and entertainment in his other productions. For such a happy and fun guy, there's no way that he could be a total jerk. Wrong again. Turns out he's actually pretty mean, and that this persona that you see on TV is all an elaborate ruse. In reality, James is arrogant, rude, and kind of a diva. There are a bunch of stories that paint James as a mean person. Firstly, he was part of a group of people who advocated for paying late night writers less money. Yes, you heard that right. He's also been known to use the "do you know who I am" line quite a number of times, and he's even reportedly told someone that he could buy them if they didn't do what he wanted. There have been incidents of fans catching James being mean to his wife and letting his temper get the best of him at times. A lot of people say that he only acts nice in order to butt kiss his way to the top, and he doesn't care who he takes down in the process. I only have one word for him: toxic.
And at number 10, we have Chevy Chase. Chevy Chase has had so many bad interactions with people over the years, we truly just do not have the time to name them all. One story came from comedian Rob Huebel, who was so excited to meet the star. However, when Huebel approached him and tried to talk to Chevy, Chevy Chase responded by slapping him in the face, then saying, quote, "Can't you see I'm talking to someone, kid?" Excuse me, what? Slapping someone because they tried to talk to you? Chevy is also the only former SNL cast member that is banned from the show because he slapped cast member Cherry O'Terry while he was guest hosting in 1997. He was also known at SNL for being very insensitive with his jokes, basically insulting anyone and everyone. According to the book Saturday Night, A Backstage History of Saturday Night Live, Chevy was a, quote, "viciously effective put-down artist, the sort who could find the one thing somebody was sensitive about, a pimple on the nose, perhaps. Definitely not the vibe I was picking up from watching his movies." And at number 9, James Corden. Late night host James Corden seems like a sweetheart on TV, and he's beloved by many around the world because of this. But his reputation off camera is quite the opposite. And he's actually known to be awful to staff on set and even fans too. His reputation has gotten so bad that when he did a Reddit AMA back in 2019, tons of people used the thread to share their terrible interactions with Corden. One user reminded everyone about the time that Corden showed up to a private Writers Guild meeting to advocate for lower pay for TV writers, even though they're known for being paid pretty low wages already. Another spoke about how they saw the movie A League of Their Own being filmed, and during the filming they saw Corden throw multiple tantrums over minor things. The last person said that they had tea on all the late night hosts, including Corden, saying that James Corden is known as an among writers and Jimmy Fallon is an alcoholic. However, Jimmy Kimmel is actually a good guy apparently, according to this Reddit user. All in all, it seems that Corden's a nice guy act is all fake. And at number 8, Julia Roberts. Julia Roberts is another actress who has a pretty good reputation in the media. However, tons of people on Reddit expose that she's actually mean in real life. One of the commenters claimed that they had worked with her on a photo shoot, and apparently the whole time she was basically screaming at everyone. And apparently it's a well-known thing that when cameras are not rolling, she is terrible on set. Another popular rumor is that the cast of the set of the movie Hook hated her so much her nickname was, quote, Tinkerhell. However, to her credit, she had just ended her engagement with fellow actor Kiefer Sutherland after learning that he was cheating on her. Apparently, Roberts decided to not give herself a break after the split and started filming Hook days later. And even though there were rumors that director Steven Spielberg hated working with her on that movie, he also came to her defense when asked about her behavior. He said, quote, "Julia probably went through the most trying times of her life, and it was simply bad timing for all of us that she happened to start on Hook at that low point."
At number 7, Christina Aguilera. When thinking about Disney stars, I think you'd have to go pretty far down the list to get to actress and singer Christina Aguilera. A lot of people forget that she was once a Disney star, having been part of the Mickey Mouse Club. Well, from her time with the mouse, things certainly have changed and she's become a pretty mean person. Apparently, there's a lot that makes Christina a mean person. For starters, she's had some bad blood with past members of The Voice, specifically Adam Levine. The two would fight a lot and make for an uncomfortable work environment, but that's not all. She's also had feuds with people like Pink, Mariah Carey, and even Valerie Bertinelli. Apparently, she isn't all too fun to work with either because she's kind of a diva with the way that she demands things from people, and working for her isn't much of a treat either. According to those who've worked with her, she is rude and demanding, especially to housekeeping staff, as they've said that they are treated horribly by her. All in all, she is not the nicest person ever, adding to the list of mean Disney stars.
And at number 6, Sandra Bullock. Sandra Bullock is another star that has shocked people with just how mean she can be in real life. When fans have had the chance to meet her in real life, they might be expecting to see warm characters like her role in The Blind Side. But that's not the case. A former fan named Denise Codes told Star Magazine in 2012 about a run-in with Bullock. Apparently her and her husband, who is a veteran in a wheelchair, were out for a walk, and the couple ran into her during the filming break. Apparently the couple asked for an autograph, but things did not go well. Denise said, quote, "Sandra was so rude. She covered her face and yelled. He just wanted an autograph, and she actually yelled at him." Now I understand not having the time to greet fans and how annoying it probably is to be hounded, but like a single wheelchair-bound veteran and his wife, in what world is their polite request for an autograph warrant a yelling match? You know, we don't know the full story, but that one's pretty bad. Halfway at number 5, Alec Baldwin. Honestly, none of you guys should be shocked by seeing Alec Baldwin on this list, because he makes his mean persona well known, especially the paparazzi. He also has a notorious short temper. One of his earliest scandals happened in 1995, where he was placed under a citizen's arrest after punching a cameraman in the face. The altercation happened because a photographer was trying to take a picture of his new daughter, so a lot of people actually took Alec's side with this one. And if this aggression was a one-off, that would be one thing, but unfortunately this isn't the case with Alec. Later on in 2007, he was in the news again for berating his teenage daughter Ireland on a phone call, calling her a selfish little pig, among many other harsh things, just because she didn't pick up the call. Lastly, he was kicked off an American Airlines flight in 2011 after getting aggressive because he was asked to turn off his phone. And honestly, I'm sure there's so much more, but these are just the first few that I could find. And at number 4, Catherine Zeta-Jones. Catherine Zeta-Jones gained a reputation as a mean girl after it was revealed that she made some questionable comments to a young fan. Allegedly, when an 8-year-old fan told Zeta-Jones that she wanted to become an actress, the fan was left completely devastated. The girl recalled the awkward moment years later, saying, quote, "She turned to me, looked up and down and said, quote, 'You're pretty enough, I suppose,' then went back to her conversation. I went from feeling at ease in the world to constantly thinking about how everyone was judging me on my appearance." But that's not the only comment that has gotten Zeta-Jones backlash. In one interview with The Mirror, she said, quote, "I'm sick of being humbled. I really am. Sorry I'm rich. Sorry I'm married to a movie star. Sorry I'm not so bad looking." And based on those comments, I'm definitely sensing some mean girl energy.
At number 3, Shia LaBeouf. Former Disney actor Shia LaBeouf, known for his time on Even Stevens, has also faced some controversy because of his actions. He's faced backlash for racism in the past, as he once got into a confrontation with a black police officer and told the officer that he was going to hell because of his skin color. He has also faced criticisms for plagiarism, as he's been caught stealing work from other people, from things like apologies to story plots, and has even been in a few scandals for violence, as he's been involved in many physical altercations over the years. Most recently, he faced scrutiny as his ex-girlfriend FKA Twigs came forward to talk about how he hurt her mentally and physically while in a relationship with him, recounting some of the horrible instances of abuse that she faced while with him. Shia is certainly one of the meanest people to come from Disney.
And at number 2, Jesse Eisenberg. Jesse Eisenberg earned a bad reputation after he was interviewed by journalist Romina Puga and came off very rude, belittling her throughout. During their conversation, Eisenberg made tons of digs at Puga, like making fun of her interview style, joking that she had questions written on her hand, and joking that she was on his time when she joked that he should hurry up. During the interview, it seemed like there was a potential their banter was actually playful flirting, but Puga revealed later that she was hurt by the interview and his belittling comments, while Eisenberg felt that she found his dry humor amusing. Eisenberg said after, quote, "I remember she was laughing. Even after she left, I said to people in the room, what a relief. Like that was the most funny, interesting interview I'd had all day." So his rudeness could just be summed up to miscommunication. And at number 1, Ellen DeGeneres. Of course, I could not make this list without including the current queen of mean, Ellen. Ellen's fall from niceness all started when one of DeGeneres' former employees, Kevin T. Porter, tweeted out that Ellen was, quote, "notoriously one of the meanest people alive." And the replies of the tweet shared tons of negative interactions that people had with Ellen over the years. This sparked a whole wave of exposing, and not only of Ellen, but her show as well. And it was revealed that her show had a toxic work environment, and her staff were verbally berated constantly. There were even reports of inappropriate conduct by high-level producers of the show.
At number 10, Rachel Ray. Rachel Ray may seem like a happy, fun, and helpful person on TV, but it seems like that's not exactly true. She might seem wholesome while teaching you how to make a casserole, but deep down she's got a dark side. There are a few unpleasant things about Rachel that people have caught on to, including things like being a lousy tipper at restaurants, having allegedly cheated on her husband, and being rude on set. But she's also been accused of more harsh things like making racial remarks about Oprah, the very woman who gave her her start. On top of that, she's also talked badly behind the backs of a lot of celebrities, calling them some pretty mean names that I can't repeat on YouTube. And she's also faced lawsuits for her dog food brand containing toxic substances, so not only is she mean to people, but she's mean to dogs too. At number 9, Jared Leto. If you ask the internet what they think about Jared Leto, a surprising amount of people say that he's kind of a jerk. I even found a list that someone made of all of the reasons that make Jared Leto a bad person, and since this individual, along with a number of others, don't like him, I thought I'd include him on this list to get your take on this. Some of the reasons listed as to why Jared sucks so much include the fact that he's been caught being mean to fans, and he's offended the trans community after winning an Oscar for his performance in Dallas Buyers Club and not mentioning the trans community in his speech, as well as undermining the struggles of the trans community after joking about his appearance in character. Jared has also admitted to lying during interviews whenever possible, and people found his Joker antics on the set of Suicide Squad to be a little mean because of the pranks that he would play on people, as well as the gifts that he would send to the cast and crew. true. I know a lot of his fans say that he's good and a genuine guy, but some of his actions say otherwise. What do you guys think? If you guys are liking the video so far, please go ahead and leave a thumbs up on the video. Your feedback is really helpful and it helps our channel grow, so go ahead and smash that like button. At number 8, Kanye West. Kanye West isn't the nicest guy out there, I think we all know that. I mean, he's not the worst person, but he also has a knack for offending people. Whether it's on stage or on Twitter, I'm sure we've seen Kanye West be pretty mean and offensive on multiple occasions. Let me highlight a few of his worst moments. Remember the VMA incident where he stole Taylor Swift's spotlight after winning her award? Not nice. How about his claim that slavery was a choice, undermining the struggle of so many black lives lost and abused by enslavement? People also think Kanye is mean because he tries to control what his wife Kim wears, trying to manipulate her style but also forcing her to cover up and not show as much skin. We also have to mention his tweets as well. He's very outspoken online and has a tendency to offend people a lot. From his claims about Bill Cosby being an innocent man following his allegations, as well as his tweets bashing his own family members, Kanye does not hold back. Some people believe that Kanye is mean because he thinks that he's better than everyone else and doesn't have to worry about other people's feelings as well. At number 7, Amy Schumer. Amy Schumer is sort of a I don't care what people think of me kind of person, which can be a good thing sometimes because it allows you to carry yourself with confidence. However, it can also be a bad thing because it prevents you from thinking about how your actions might negatively impact others. An example of this comes from an incident in 2018 where Amy full-on stole a comedian's stand-up set. The story goes that there was an up-and-coming comedian who was doing one of his first long sets, and obviously this was a really big deal for the guy until Amy ruined it. She walked into the venue and went to the manager to ask if she could steal 10 minutes of stage time because she wanted to practice her new set. Because the other comedian had just started, the manager said no, so Amy hit back with quote, "But I'm Amy Schumer." Like that's gonna make a difference. After getting refusals left and right, she marched up on stage and took over his time for a few minutes. I know Amy is a big timer, but come on. You have to remember what it was like to be up and coming, and that kind of behavior is just plain rude. At number 6, Katherine Heigl. A lot of people don't like Katherine Heigl because of how rude she is. She's been known to be mean to people on set, have high demands, and just has a really bad attitude. She's known to be quite critical of her roles and the material that she's given to work with, and even said that this is why she withdrew from Emmy nominations because she said that the material that she was given for Grey's Anatomy didn't warrant an Emmy. That's certainly disrespectful to the writers because for someone to say something like that implies that the writing wasn't good enough to please people, whereas the people at the Emmys thought that it was worth the award. And on top of that, winning this kind of award looks good for the team, but Katherine obviously didn't think of that and she only thought about herself. Talk about a bad attitude. Katherine is also known to make ridiculously high salary demands, and she apparently has been doing this since before she became a big name in the industry. She's reportedly hired and fired a lot of publicists and assistants over the years, so she sounds like quite the diva. Because of all this, directors and Hollywood execs don't want to work with her anymore, and I can't really say I blame them. Halfway through at number 5, Christian Bale. Christian Bale's temper is really something to behold. I really wanted to include a clip of one of his outbursts, but there was so much swearing that no one has time to bleep all of that. After his outbursts on set, from crew members upsetting him to fans getting him riled up, Hollywood has begun to paint the actor as someone with serious anger issues. In one instance, according to Christian's former assistant, he once wanted to kill a fan. Fans seem to have really upset the actor on multiple occasions, so apparently once Christian received a fan letter at home, he said that the fan should be eliminated. He described wanting to thrust a screwdriver through the fan's eye and into their brain to the part that prevents screaming. I'll let that one sit there for a second. On another occasion, Christian went on a 4-minute swear word ridden tirade where he really chewed out a crew member from the set of Terminator Salvation. That one I have no quotes for because if I repeated any of those words, this video would be flagged, and just trust me when I say Christian Bale is one mean SOB. At number 4, Zooey Deschanel. Zooey Deschanel plays fun, bubbly, and happy characters in TV and in films, but her real personality is far from nice. Turns out that Zooey is actually pretty mean in real life. Her biggest thing is brushing off or being mean to her fans. According to one fan on Reddit, she allows some fans to talk to her, but only for a brief amount of time, if that. And she doesn't do pictures or autographs, and she'll just walk away from you if she wants to. People who have worked with the actress have also said that she's got a bad attitude on set, and that she's pretty stuck up and has a big ego. Others say that she demands a lot, throws tantrums about literally anything, and has a reputation for delaying shoots, but will go off on anyone else who makes demands or delays shoots. Double standards here. Basically, she's got a bad attitude, and that's one of the reasons why she doesn't get cast much anymore, because no one wants to work with her. At number 3, Julia Roberts. Julia Roberts seems like a nice person. She's always cast as nice and endearing characters, but there's so much more to Julia than meets the eye. Apparently, she's a nightmare to work with. Other than having been part of some messy relationships and having been dubbed as a homewrecker at one point, Julia's bad attitude doesn't just take place off set. In 1991, on the set of the Spielberg film Hook, a Peter Pan film, Julia earned the nickname Tinkerhell as a play on her character Tinkerbell, combined with the production's perception of the actress. Apparently, during filming, she would show up to the set late all the time, and she would lock herself in her trailer for hours on end. She would also treat people badly, and she would never apologize for her actions or behavior. Tinkerbell might be cute and nice, but Julia Roberts certainly is not. At number 2, Tyra Banks. Tyra Banks is not all she's cracked up to be. She claims to be someone who's inclusive in the modeling industry, and she claims that she's kind and fair to everyone, but that is so far from the truth. She even tried framing Naomi Campbell as the industry's mean girl, but after Naomi responded to those allegations thrown her way, people started realizing that it was Tyra who was the tyrant all along. Other than throwing shade at Naomi, we've also come to realize some of the other horrible things that she's done. For example, while on America's Next Top Model, she made the contestants change their appearances all the time. Though Tyra claims that she's about being unique, she sure does like changing these girls' looks. On top of that, she also forced contestants to wear blackface and other racially insensitive makeup and clothing. Though she claimed that it was to show off and express other cultures, she totally went about that in an offensive and mean way. And Tyra even shamed people for the way they express themselves, as well as some contestants' sexualities. So many former contestants of the show have said how horrible Tyra is to work with, and if you see Tyra's outbursts on TV, I think that's already proof enough as to how mean she can be. At number 1, Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is one of the best basketball players of all time. The guy is a legend, but it seems as though Michael isn't all sunshine and rainbows off the court. When in the game, he's dazzling the crowd and winning games, but in real life, outside of sports, he's actually kind of a jerk. Many fans have said that he isn't the nicest celebrity out there because he can be very dismissive and rude to his fans, denying them photos or autographs. He's also been kicked out of a country club for being rude to other guests, and he's also been known to be quite mean to other athletes. For example, he once punched Steve Kerr in the face over a disagreement that they had. On top of that, Jordan bullied Bill Cartwright because he was salty that the team brought him on, and he's also been known to call other players really mean names and threaten them as well. I think he did all that stuff to intimidate these other players so that he could remain on top, but it's still quite rude of him to treat others this way. One more example that shows how mean this guy is, he tried cheating an old lady out of a game of cards. Who does that? Not cool, man.
And at number 10, we have Hilary Duff. Hilary Duff is probably one of the most beloved Disney Channel actors ever, but she has a bit of a mean side to her. In 2018, Hilary got into a bit of a scandal as people called her out for bullying her neighbor. The story here was that Hilary was ranting online about how much that she hated her neighbor. Relatable. Even calling out their bad habits like smoking in the apartment and not taking the trash out properly. Duff even called the neighbor out for not paying their own rent, saying in one of her Instagram stories, quote, "We know your parents pay your rent. We know you've never worked a day in your life. It must be nice." And even though everyone can understand ranting about a neighbor, Duff crossed a major line when she posted the name and Instagram profile of the neighbor on her story, which is a massive privacy issue that made fans think Hilary was using her followers to hate on this person. Instagram even took down her videos because they violated the platform's terms. And at number 9, Armie Hammer. So I don't want any of you guys to think that I'm putting the allegations against Armie Hammer lightly, because this man is obviously a lot more than just mean. Over the past few months, serious allegations have come forward against Hammer, including the fact that he had dangerous and harmful fantasies that he would play out while sleeping with women. More recently, an allegation came out that Armie forced himself on a woman, and he might even be responsible for a number of more heinous crimes. Because of these allegations, Armie has been dropped from practically all projects that he had signed on to be a part of. Currently, Armie is denying all allegations, but the evidence against him is mounting. In at number 8, Jennifer Lawrence. Jennifer Lawrence is one of the few celebrities who's actually admitted to being mean, and on purpose. Jennifer says this is a way to defend herself against fans and paparazzi who might want too much from her and make them leave her alone. In an interview with Variety, she said, quote, "I just generally, once I enter a public place, I become incredibly rude. That's kind of like my only way of defending myself." Even adding that if she sees a fan coming to her table, she'll start wagging her finger and make a mean face. She also apparently bluntly responds no when people ask her for selfies. But obviously this behavior is gonna make you lose some fans, which has happened to Jennifer as a result of these actions. And at number 7, Mike Meyers. This one breaks my heart, but the comedy legend is actually really terrible in real life. He's known for being mean to colleagues, fans, and his personal assistants. In an interview with the AV Club, Mike Meyers' Cat in the Hat co-star Amy Hill shed some light on how bad he can be on set. Apparently he hired an assistant, and their entire job was to follow him around all day and feed him chocolate from a Tupperware container when he wanted it. She also exposed that he was a diva, making everyone wait around for him, as well as micromanaging everyone on set. The director of Wayne's World, Penelope Spheris, is another colleague that had some choice words to say about Meyers. She called him, quote, emotionally needy, and saying that he, quote, got more difficult as the shoot went along. And at number 6, Reese Witherspoon. Reese Witherspoon is basically America's sweetheart, seemingly on and off screen. But there have been a few incidents that have made people think twice about her nice girl persona, like when she was arrested for a DUI in 2013. Her and her husband were pulled over by an officer, and Reese's husband was given a DUI charge. But then in an effort to fight the charges, and I'm guessing intimidate the officer into letting him go, Reese pulled the "Do you know who I am" card, which is just so cringy when you actually hear it happen in real life. But the fact that she was getting in the officer's face while he was arresting her husband got her arrested for disorderly conduct. And you might be wondering how we know so much about that arrest. Well, the whole incident was actually caught on camera, and America could see Reese get up in arms with law enforcement for 6 minutes straight.
At number 5, Bella Thorne. Out of all of Disney's past actors, Bella Thorne is one of the most controversial and most hated. She's been very outspoken about her time at Disney and how they forced her to conform to a specific image, so many of her actions are tied in with that and how she's sort of rebelling against the system, if you will. But a lot of people just don't like that about her. Over the years, she's faced many scandals and controversies, like her most recent OnlyFans scam, where she not only scammed people into paying upwards of $200 for content that isn't necessarily what they were expecting, but also having greatly affected the livelihoods of other creators on the platform because of the scam, and for prompting new guidelines that affect creators' revenue. Other than that scandal, she's also faced a backlash for having used racial slurs online, cheating on her partners, and bashing other celebrities online. Recently, she released a diss track about her ex Tana Mongeau that turned into a Twitter war between them. There have also been reports of Bella stealing from people, as last year an owner of a small business called Bella out for not going through on her deal to promote her brand in exchange for $1,500 worth of jewelry. Bella just is not the nicest person out there.
In at number 4, Adam Levine. Since Adam Levine has been a host on The Voice, many fans are seeing his true colors, and they aren't pretty. Though Adam has cleaned up his act a bit in recent years after settling down, there was a time where he wasn't a nice guy. In the past, Adam has trash-talked a lot of his exes, making for some pretty toxic energy. And of course, we have to mention his feuding with co-stars of The Voice like Christina Aguilera and Miley Cyrus. It seems his co-host Blake Shelton also had problems with him too, as Blake made a comment on a recent episode of the show where Levine is no longer a host, saying, quote, "I want you to look just for a second at this coaching panel. Take a note at who's missing and who's in that chair." Now, I'm not saying that Kelly Clarkson got Adam fired, but he's gone and she's sitting there, okay? Adam Levine has also been accused of being a homewrecker because he had an alleged affair with Jessica Simpson, but that's still just speculation. Lastly, he said in the past that he, quote, "didn't give autographs to ugly chicks," and I just really can't look at him the same way now. And at number 3, Katherine Heigl. Katherine Heigl quickly became one of Hollywood's most beloved stars, but she ended up earning herself a bad reputation just as fast. She first became a household name on the show Grey's Anatomy, but she burned bridges with the show in 2008 when she actually pulled her name out of contention for an Emmy Award after being nominated. Heigl said in a statement, quote, "I did not feel that I was given the material this season to warrant an Emmy nomination, and in an effort to maintain the integrity of the Academy organization, I withdrew my name from contention." But of course, fans of the show, as well as creator and writer Shonda Rhimes, were not pleased, and quickly found a reason to write Heigl off the show. Heigl got some more bad press after she decided to badmouth one of her own movies, Knocked Up, in a 2007 cover interview with Vanity Fair. After a string of bad PR, she was essentially blacklisted from Hollywood. And at number 2, Amy Schumer. Amy Schumer is another person who has been in some unsavory encounters with fans. One time that got a lot of press was in New York City, when an Upper West Side Equinox asked her to present her membership card, which is standard practice at the upscale fitness club. But she refused, claiming that since she was so famous and everyone knew who she was, she didn't need to check in. One source told Page 6, quote, "She felt entitled to just walk in. She didn't want to show her key fob and wanted to be able to go in and not be questioned." The source continued continued, quote, "It was clear that Amy wanted to go in under the radar and not even stop to have the desk clerk look up her account on the computer." So we can chalk this one up to a classic case of celebrities being entitled, I guess. And finally, number 1, Dan Aykroyd. So Dan is another person who is not at all what they seem to be on screen, with an overwhelming consensus that he's really awful in real life. He currently lives in a small suburb of Ontario, and many residents have shared their experiences living in the same place as Aykroyd online. Many residents say that Aykroyd travels with a group of bodyguards that are notorious for being rude and intimidating. One story in particular said, quote, "We were enjoying a post-bar snack at a pita pit in Kingston when Dan Aykroyd and his entourage cut in front of a large line of people. Dan ordered a few pitas and slapped down a $100 bill. When the cashier told him that they didn't accept $100 or $50 bills, he became very enraged and yelled that he, quote, owned this town. He stormed out of the store swearing and making a scene. Apparently one of the people there called him out on his behavior, thankfully, but this definitely doesn't seem like a one-time thing."